Hey everyone, it's Amanda, and today I'm going to show you how to do your makeup in a way that it doesn't look like you're wearing a ton of makeup. The skin is skinning, the base is very natural and soft, but I still have all of the elements of my regular makeup in place so that I still look confident and put together, but it's very just dialed back and intentionally applied. I think that is the most important thing about this makeup look. But I'm going to walk you through all of my techniques, all of my go-to products, all of that good stuff. But before we jump into it, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out a lot. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. I do like to start with a bit of a glowy base when I'm going for a no makeup look. I also like to go in with a little bit of a bronzy base because I feel like it just brings the rest of the makeup to life. So the perfect product to do this is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Filter. I'm using the shade Fair, but it does give my skin a little bit of color and glow all in one. I'm just applying it all over the face and I'm blending it out with my Hourglass foundation brush. So this product doesn't provide you a ton of coverage, but it does have a little bit, so it does give you an even base to work with, and it really just gives the skin the most beautiful glow. It's not Tin Man-y, it's not glittery, it's just a very glowing from within effect. Next, I always go in with a tinted moisturizer. Typically, I avoid foundations in this step just because, in my opinion, they always look a little bit too heavy. Even if you apply a little small amount, I just think a tinted moisturizer gives a much prettier and more natural effect. So I have two here. My favorites are the NARS Pure Radiant Tinted Moisturizer, and I wear the shade Terre Neuve, but a close runner-up is actually by Hourglass, and it's their Hydrating Skin Tint. I use the shade number 2, but it's a little bit dark for me, so I'm gonna use the NARS one today. Using the same brush I just used, I'm going to apply a very thin layer of this to the face and just blend it out and take my time to make sure I don't have any streaks. And don't worry about covering all of your imperfections during this step. We're gonna go in with more full coverage later on, but in my opinion, it's best to keep the skin looking really light and fresh than going in with something too heavy right off the bat. Tinted moisturizers really give the skin the most natural finish. They're very hydrating, they give a good amount of glow. A dead giveaway that you're wearing a lot of makeup is when your skin is too matte, too heavy, or even too glowy. And in my opinion, this tinted moisturizer is the perfect finish. It looks just like skin and it always sits so nice on top of my skincare, which is huge for me. Next up, we have bronzer, and this is the It bronzer for no makeup. It is so good. I'm using the Say Sun Melt Natural Cream Bronzer in the shade Fair Bronze. And when I tell you this melts into your skin like butter, the name Sun Melt is perfect for this because it is just so good. It basically blends for you and it leaves the most natural, just beautiful bronzy finish to the skin. It's never too heavy and it always just blends so seamlessly into the skin. I always use my Refi dual-ended brush to apply this bronzer. It just does such an amazing job. As you can see, I've pretty much kept that bronzer to the outskirts of my face, just defining my cheekbones, warming up my forehead a little bit, sides of the nose. Anywhere the sun would naturally hit, I'm applying a little bit of bronzer in those places, maybe a little bit on my jaw just to define things. When I'm going for more of a natural makeup look, I like to go in with blush before I go in with concealer because I at least tend to over apply my blush. And if you overdo it, it can be a little bit too much and it can make it look like you're wearing too much makeup. So I like to go in with concealer after to kind of clean up and correct any areas where I might have over applied. Going in with my Rhode Pocket Blush in the shade Freckle, I'm gonna begin applying that to my cheeks. I'm gonna work this blush into the skin using my finger because I feel like it melts the product in a little bit better. This color is almost like a sun-kissed bronzy blush. It looks really natural on the skin. It pretty much looks just like I went outside and spent some time in the sun. And I love this formula. It gives a beautiful dewy finish to the cheek, which is exactly what we want. We don't want anything that has a matte finish if you're trying to avoid it looking like you're wearing a lot of makeup. You can see I've really focused that blush on the apples of my cheek, and if you don't know where the apples of your cheeks are, just smile a little bit, you'll see them pop up. It's kind of just that area that protrudes the most when you smile, and you just want to focus your blush there, rather than blending it too high up on your cheek, because you don't really naturally blush there. I mean, everyone's different. If you naturally tend to like have blush and color really high on your face, maybe that would be a better placement for your face. But for me, when I blush, it's like the apples of my cheeks. So I'm just kind of following what my natural blush placement is. I do want to layer on a little bit of like a pinky color just because I feel like this is slightly too bronzy to look really natural, so I'm going to mix a bit of pink in. I'm going in with the Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks blush stick in the shade Chouchette, and this is such a cute blush shade. I've been loving these blush sticks so much. I love Westman Atelier products. Same thing, just using my finger to pat that into the skin right where we applied that Rhode blush. And if your blush is looking a little crazy, not to worry, go in with whatever brush you used for your tinted moisturizer, or just use a clean brush and just tap right on top of that blush just to airbrush it out a little bit more, just to make it look more natural. Okay, so now that we have the blush applied, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of concealer. I just did a video actually about how to apply your concealer without it creasing, so if you want to watch that, I'll put it on the screen. But I've recently discovered this little trick that really helps concealer stop creasing. I'm using my Armani Luminous Silk Concealer, and before applying it to my face, I'm just going to apply a little bit of this on the back of my hand. This is specifically for the under eye area. I'm just going to take my concealer brush from Kevyn Aucoin, and I'm going to pick up some of that concealer right onto my brush. And by doing this, you're actually going to prevent yourself from applying too much concealer underneath your eyes. When you apply too much concealer, it is way more prone to settle into your fine lines. It's just going to naturally gather there. So this method actually prevents the over application, and it really applies a beautiful thin layer of concealer. It looks so natural. You'll also notice that I'm not applying my concealer super close to my lower lash line. I'm starting off a little bit lower and then diffusing the concealer up. That is also going to prevent your concealer from looking too heavy. And then for the rest of my face, I'm just going to apply concealer like normal. I like to use the applicator for more precision application. I'll cover up any little blemishes that are poking through, a little bit of redness around my nose, between the brows, just kind of anywhere. Could use a little extra coverage. But again, keeping it quite minimal here. We do not want to be over applying coverage if we do not need it. Less is absolutely more. I harp on this whole point on my whole channel. It's easier to add makeup than to take it away once you've already applied it. So if you want to really unlock the key to no makeup, you're gonna wanna just apply less. Trust me, by the end of the makeup, you might just notice, my makeup actually looks pretty complete and I applied way less product. But if you feel like you want more, you can just add a little more, no big deal. Moving on to powder, it can be a little bit of a tricky thing because if you apply a super matte powder over top of your makeup, it can actually look very unnatural because it removes all of the natural shine from our face. Our face naturally has more of a satin finish, so going in with a fully matte powder, you just lose that kind of effortless, natural essence of the makeup. So I've got a little system that I like to use on my no makeup days, and I'm going to show you that right now. I do like to powder under my eyes really well, so I'll use the Laura Mercier Secret Under Eye Brightening Powder, and this one is very finely milled. It also really locks your makeup into place for a very long period of time. It's one of my favorite powders actually, and I just take it on a powder puff and press it into the under eyes without applying too much. I am mindful to go in with a light hand. The powder I like to use for setting all over the face is the Givenchy Prism Libre powder, and I use the shade number 2. The reason I love this is because it has a nice, like, satiny finish to it, but it also, like, color corrects your skin at the same time. You can see this powder has a ton of different colors just within the one component, and that's actually for color correcting purposes. So this one is really good for under the eyes as well, but I actually really like it for all over the face. I just apply a really light layer using a powder brush, and the reason I use a brush over a puff is because I just think a brush disperses the powder a little bit more loosely, and it just looks a bit more natural all over the face. And I'm really only focusing the powder in areas that tend to get really shiny, really oily. So for me, that's on my chin and around my mouth and on the forehead and kind of in between the brow area. As you can see, that didn't completely mattify my skin. It gave me this beautiful satin airbrush, almost like filter-like finish. It preserved the luminosity of my skin, which is the main thing I look for in a powder on my more natural makeup days. So now we're gonna move on to eyes. I'm using my Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the Neutrals palette. And this palette has all the neutral shades you could ever need. I really love that this is a neutral palette. It's a little bit more on the cool side, but for me, I like that when I'm kind of defining and contouring my eyes. I don't like to go with anything too warm. I almost like to mimic natural shadows when I'm contouring my eyes. Let me show you what I mean. So to create my perfect transition shade, I'm just gonna go in with these two colors right here. It almost is like similar to the natural discoloration I have on my eyes, and it just creates this perfect cool toned shadow type color. And I just like to apply that right in my eye socket using a Rephr 01 brush. I use a very light hand for this. You're really just adding dimension and shape to your eye. I'm avoiding that mobile lid area, and as you can see, I'm just keeping that focus to the eye socket area. And I'm just gonna do the same thing on the lower lash line as well. For me, when I wear no makeup, I like my lid to look really bright. I just feel like it makes me look more awake. So I'm gonna go in with this cream colored shade in this palette and apply that all over the mobile lid. All right, so my eyes still look natural. They just look a little bit more enhanced and defined. And now I want to add a little bit of a baby winged liner. And hear me out. I know we're going for a no makeup look, but this just adds a little extra something to the eyes to make them look complete. I'm going to go in with this dark espresso brown shade right here on a small angled brush. And the key to this step is actually following the way your lashes go upwards. So you want to just kind of follow that shape of your outermost eyelash. So for me, it's gonna look like that. So that's kind of my starting shape, and then I'm just gonna build the rest of my baby winged liner on top. Using eyeshadow as your eyeliner looks so soft and natural, and once we have the rest of the eyes complete, you're hardly gonna notice it, but it really does just pull everything together. So that's our baby winged liner. I've brought it about a third of the way across my lid, just connecting it at the lashes, but you wanna hug this liner super close and tight to your lashes. You almost don't want it to look like you're wearing liner, but just a little bit, just like this. Another little makeup hack that I like to do is I like to take a flat brush and pick up a light eyeshadow shade. And then just to clean up that winged liner, I like to very delicately place this on the bottom edge of that liner just to sharpen it up a little bit. It just gives a little bit more emphasis to the liner. I'm going in with the L'Oreal Paris Telescopic Mascara, and the reason I chose this one is because it really lengthens my eyelashes, and I find that this mascara never clumps, which is obviously a dead giveaway that you're wearing mascara. So we want to keep the lashes looking pretty natural. You don't want to over apply. Just apply a good even coat to the lashes to give them a little bit of separation, a little bit of length, and a little bit of definition. So now that our mascara is applied, I'm gonna go in with something a little extra, and this is definitely optional, but it's another little thing that I feel like just brings the makeup look together. I'm gonna go in with some individual lashes. These are from Emboss Beauty, and they are CL01. They're very natural looking cluster lashes. I'm just gonna apply a couple of these on the outer corner of my eye. So I'm gonna start with the medium length. These come in 3 lengths, long, medium, and short. And I'm going to place that medium cluster right on the outermost part of my eye, just like that. And then I'm going to go in with another medium lash right next to that one we just applied. And then the last one right next to that, I'm going in with a short one. And then I'm going to pinch all the lashes together, just like that. I'm going to go ahead and do the other eye off camera, so I'll be right back. Okay, so lashes are done. They feel so comfortable in the eyes. It doesn't feel like I'm wearing really heavy eyelashes. They just kind of look like, honestly, natural lash extensions, and they're very much like DIY, do it at home lash extensions. So yeah, very quick, relatively easy, a little bit tedious, like you do have to practice a little bit to get the technique right, but once you do, it gives the most natural effect. There's one more thing I want to do for my eyes, and that's just to add a little bit of inner corner highlight. So I'm going to use my Dior Backstage Glow Face Palette, and I'm just going to take this white shade here, and I'm going to use that as my inner corner highlight. I'm just using a little tiny brush and applying that on the very inner corner of my eye, a little bit above and a little bit below. Finally, time for lips. Lips are maybe my favorite part of this whole makeup, so I'm going in with the Victoria Beckham Lip Definer in the shade 02. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I use Whirl, and other times I use Makeup Forever Wherever Walnut. Those are kind of like my top 3 lip liners at the moment, but essentially you just want to stick with something similar to your lip tone, maybe a little bit darker. Think your lips but better. And then I'm going to define my Cupid's bow in the center of my lower lip especially. I'm going to kind of overline a little bit, but on the edges of my lips, I'm really going to keep it really tight to my natural lip line because this is where you can kind of go wrong. Your lips can look a little bit clownish if you overline on the outer corners, so just avoid that and you'll be good. I also like to fill in the outer corners a little bit just to give my lips a bit of a contoured look. Once that's done, I like to go in with a sheer lip color, and I've been loving the Ilia Balmy Tint in the shade Hold Me. I've been getting so many compliments on this lip. People ask me what I'm wearing all the time, and it's usually this one, to be honest. It's a nice sheer wash of color, and it's also really comfortable on the lips. See, just a little sheer wash of color, nothing crazy. And then I'm just going to top it up with some lip gloss. I'm using the Say Glossy Bounce in the shade Kiss. I chose this one because it's basically just a clear gloss. I didn't want anything with like glitter in it or anything like that, just because I want to keep my lips looking just natural, juicy, hydrated. I will say one thing I really love about this gloss is it actually kind of feels like a lip mask. It's super hydrating. It's formulated with castor oil, which is something I love, but also my only complaint about this gloss is that it smells like castor oil, and I don't love that. I'm not only going to apply gloss on the lips, but I'm going to apply a little bit of gloss on the face. This is really just going to give us that natural, glowy, I don't know, you know when you sweat a little in your makeup after you've been wearing it for a little while and it just looks so good, like it almost wears better once you get a little dewy? This does that right off the bat. This is the Victoria Beckham Reflect Highlighter Stick in the shade Pearl. And this is one of my favorite highlighters. I like to take it just on my finger and then I will just tap it on the high points of my cheek and just very softly work it in to the skin. It doesn't disrupt my powder underneath it, which I love. It's the worst when you apply like a liquid highlighter and it just melts everything and everything just kind of like separates. I like to wrap this a little bit up towards my brow bone, almost in like a C shape, but look, oh, look at that glow. It is so beautiful. This is truly the most gorgeous highlighter I've ever used. So if you like highlighter, this is without, this is with. Oh, so pretty. All right, and that is it. The glow was the final touch on this no makeup look. This is basically my go-to tutorial when I want to look like I'm not wearing too much makeup, but I still want to look put together and feel confident and all that good stuff. So let me know if you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.